Good morning, everyone. This is the first ever episode of Saturdays Are for the Boy. Um, this is just a sort of release point for all my thoughts when it comes to college football. It's my favorite thing. It's something that I'm very much into. Something that I try to watch as much as I can in the fall. Um, I love the passion. I love the pageantry. I love the uniqueness. I love the fact that um, two schools can be 10 miles apart and play the same sport while looking like two completely different sports. It's just so much fun to me. Um, and I want an outlet for me to share my thoughts. So thanks for stumbling upon my page. Hopefully, you listen to me, have questions, comments, anything like that. I'm happy to engage because I like engaging on this stuff. Um, it's going to be free flowing. I've got ideas of what I want to do. It's going to be very simple, straightforward. No frills, at least not yet. Um, just me sharing some thoughts about college football stuff. So I'm going to start by talking about the five biggest question marks, the five biggest holes in big time teams that could keep somebody from winning a conference or national championship. Um, First, the Georgia wide receivers. Um, they lost Mecole Hardman, Riley Ridley, Isaac Nauta, the backup to Isaac Nauta. This group is one that is very important to Georgia because if a wide receiver doesn't have a good rapport with a quarterback, and Georgia's got a damn good one, Jake Fromm, they will struggle. Something that's 10 inches in front or behind a wide receiver changes the complexion of so many games. And a quarterback wide receiver core needs to have that great interaction, great rapport to be able to do anything truly effective. Georgia got some great news earlier this week. Lawrence Cager from Miami is transferring there. He at least has experience in high-level college football, just not with Georgia. They've got two five-star kids coming in. Again, clearly athletic, clearly have capabilities. Can they interact with Jake Fromm well? Can they get things going? Because DeAndre Swift is a hell of a running back. They've got an SEC stingy defense. And the only thing that could be holding them back is if there's just that slight miscommunication 4 or 5 times a game between Jake Fromm and his wide receivers. So the Georgia wide receiving core is actually one that I'm very worried about. Next on my list is Penn State's quarterbacks. A quarterback. Trace McSorley was so fun to watch. Every single announcer would, you heard it every game. Oh, you look up the definition of winner in the dictionary, and there's Trace McSorley. Oh man, he's the first person I'd ever pick for my team. He's just a grinder, gutty. And they say that stuff for a reason because he holds Penn State's records in most every major category for quarterbacks, whether it's completions, yards, touchdowns, games won. All of that is owned by Trace McSorley. And Penn State is a very traditional school, and they're going a very traditional route in finding their backup. They're not doing like Oklahoma's doing with Jalen Hurts, or Ohio State's doing with Justin Fields, or Washington with Jacob Eason, or any of those teams. They are going the traditional, hey, you've waited your turn, you're now a senior, here's the keys to the car with Tommy Stevens. Tommy Stevens has been playing a slash type of role for them the past couple years. Penn State fans remember Michael Robinson. He's been similar, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, doing all those types of things. He's physically amazing. Can he lead a team? That's a big question. And Penn State's been recruiting like gangbusters. They've got a defense that was getting better and better throughout last year and will be great again next year. But how well Tommy Stevens converts from just a slash bit role player to the leader of the offense will probably determine whether or not this team can push for a Big Ten championship or have another 9-3, 8-4-ish season, which James Franklin definitely doesn't want. All right, number 3, the Michigan Wolverines D-line and sort of front seven as a whole. Everybody knows the story of Michigan's defense. They have probably the best defensive coordinator in the country in Don Brown. Their secondary is nasty. It returns a bunch of starters. Last year, they might have had the best defense in the country until Thanksgiving weekend when they got the doors blown off of them by Ohio State and then just got eviscerated by Florida's offense in the bowl game. They've got most of their pieces coming back on offense, which means that if they can reload on defense, they could still be a very dangerous team. The thing is, those leaders of that revenge tour, Chase Winovich, Devin Bush, Rashawn Gary, they're all gone. And do they have people that can fill that void? Michael Dwumfour played a bit last year. Carlo Kemp played a bit. They've got a couple other guys. They also have been recruiting really well. But they lost a couple guys as well to transfers that were on that defensive line. Aubrey Solomon was 5-star. He's back in Georgia. So can they find those replacement parts? If they can, and if Don Brown continues to do Don Brown things, that Big Ten East is going to be just as much of a meat grinder as it's been for the past 4 or 5 years. Can Michigan break through? I don't know. I thought they would last year, and they didn't. So we'll see what they have in store for us this year. All right, number 2, Oklahoma's offensive line. You might immediately jump to, well, what about their quarterbacks? They've replaced the past 2 Heisman winners in the past 2 years. The thing is, they've got Jalen Hurts, 26-2 as a starter at Alabama, replacing Kyler Murray. I'm not concerned about Jalen Hurts in terms of leading a team or having the skill set to be a Big 12 championship caliber quarterback. But does he have the protection in front of him? The only returning starter for Oklahoma on the line is center Creed Humphreys, who is a freshman All-American. He's going to be great. But the other 4 guys are all gone. And those other 4 guys, whether it be Bobby Evans or Drew Samia or whoever else, Cody Ford, those guys are probably all going to be the first 3 rounds, maybe the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft. They were the best offensive line in the country last year. And replacing 4 guys from a line like that is scary. Now, it's Oklahoma. Just like all the other teams on this list, they've recruited great, but it's not so much about that individual talent with the offensive line, especially with Oklahoma. It's, hey, do the left guard and left tackle realize that they've got 2 different guys to block, or does the tackle crash down on the inside, leaving somebody free? Does the right guard pull when he's not supposed to pull? Things like that. All that communication errors could lead to Jalen Hurts running for his life. And he's mobile, and he's accurate, but he's not Kyler Murray fast to escape if there's a bunch of pass rushers in his face all the time. He might not be accurate enough to react to that quick and get something out. I don't know. I do know that if Oklahoma's offensive line doesn't gel, a team like Texas or somebody else could finally jump up and take the Big 12 from Oklahoma for the first time in a while. So I'm really excited to see what happens there with their offensive line. I'm not worried about them not being able to score points, but in key situations, will they crumble? Will they have that lack of communication? Will they lose a game or 2 because of 1 or 2 mistakes on that offensive line? And that's the difference at this level of college football between being a national championship contender and being a team that's going to finish ranked number 15 in the country. And Oklahoma has those national championship aspirations. All right. And then the number 1 hole to fill, and this is not surprising to anybody that pays any attention to college football, it's Clemson's defensive line. All those guys, it's famous now. They're going to be writing about these guys 50 years in the future about how they all decided to come back for one more go. They were pretty much all guaranteed first-round picks in the NFL draft, maybe early second round. They all decided to come back to live out redshirt junior years, senior years, things like that for a chance to win a national championship. They did. Now they go to the pros, being maybe the most accomplished, most famous defensive line unit in the past 20, 25 years of college football. Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, Austin Bryant, Cleveland Farrell. These guys are household names in the college football world. They all need to be replaced. Clemson, just like everybody else, has recruited great. They've got blue chippers all up and down as backups. Xavier Thomas, Xavier Henry, KJ Henry. They were top 5 guys coming out of high school. The talent might not drop off all that much. What will drop off, I think, is leadership. That leadership void will be just as big to me as the play on the field. Do they have guys who will keep the locker room loose when things get down? When they go down to Syracuse in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter, will they have those guys to rally the troops, to keep the team upbeat and positive? Because that's what Clemson thrives on. We haven't seen Clemson look like they've been under pressure in a long, long time. And a lot of that stems from Dabo. That's how he runs his program. But he had the best conduits to the players in those defensive linemen. They were essentially Dabo on the field when it comes to that type of stuff. Do they have somebody that can replace that? Trevor Lawrence is great, and he doesn't look like he's going to get too down or that pressure will get to him. But does he have that leadership ability that comes from Dabo and comes from that defensive line to keep everybody else from potentially getting a little bit uptight? I'm really curious to see how that leadership void gets filled, because they'll still probably have one of the 10 best defensive lines in the country next year with the talent that they've got. Those guys played a bunch. Miles Pinckney is another one. Those guys played a bunch. It's going to be really fascinating to watch. They're in the ACC. They can probably skate by for a while, but what will happen when they need somebody to step up and be a vocal leader on the field? So those are my five points, my 5 holes that teams need to fill. 10, 12, 15 minutes is probably what I'll be looking at, because I don't want to talk for much longer than that anyways, even if I could. I want to keep it relatively short, relatively sweet, just get my thoughts out there. I really enjoyed talking about this, even if I only get one person that listens to this. This was fun for me, so I'll probably keep doing it. I'll keep posting it on YouTube. It's going to be Saturdays are for the boy. Me being the boy, my girlfriend is amazing. She gives me fall Saturdays essentially to myself because she knows how much I love this sport. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. I'll probably be back next week with another little thing to talk about. In the meantime, have a good one. Bye.